The lovely topic of today is unemployment. Whoa, what a scary word. A word that is floating around a lot more nowadays on social media, and a word that I am very much familiar with right now. I want to talk about my personal experience, where I am in my job searching and my career, what I envision myself doing, what I don't want to do. I also want to touch on LinkedIn as a tool, as the main tool for, you know, job searching and also connecting with fellow colleagues and friends. I also want to talk about the corporate life, the standard 9 to 5. Freelancing is another topic that I think is worth covering. I have dabbled in freelancing and I think it's something that's far more common nowadays than we talk about. And lastly, I want to talk about the importance of sharing and connecting with others during your unemployment era. If you are in your unemployment era, if you're not, that's okay. Ever since graduating a year and almost 2 years ago, so in December 2023, I've had a total of 3 jobs. I don't know, 3 to 2 jobs. So, a little bit of backstory. I graduated from university with a bachelor's of commerce, and I wanted to work in the nonprofit sector since that's what I felt that I wanted to do. It was a field that was lightly touched upon in my degree, and I wanted to get involved in a social business and help others. So, I did work in the nonprofit sector right after graduating for about 6 months or 7 months. No, I left in July 2024. The nonprofit sector is quite difficult to work in. I learned through experience that it is quite a heavy field to work in, depending on the size of the nonprofit, obviously. And I am really grateful for the experience that I had there because I had my hands in everything. Although my title was just to be an assistant, I really feel like I got a huge scope in working in this particular nonprofit. So, after that nonprofit, I was hired to freelance at a marketing agency and I freelanced there for about a year as well. So, August 2024 to December, no, not December, sorry. I'm like, what are we? To July 2025, I freelanced, and that was another very different experience for me in terms of freelancing. And I definitely built more of my marketing skills and communication skills through that particular job. And during also all of that time at the nonprofit and while freelancing, I was also working part time at the gym that I currently work at, which was also my student job. So I worked there prior to getting my full time jobs. I worked there. And yeah, so fast forward to now, I have been looking for work for a couple of months. It's been about 3 to 4 months that I've been looking, actively seeking full time positions, and it has been tedious to say the least. Let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn madness. What is going on there? I think LinkedIn is an amazing tool, like any social media. It can be leveraged to connect, build your network, talk to people, see what your colleagues and your friends are up to. And it's a great foundation, really, for anybody's job searching and job hunting experience. LinkedIn was very much pushed on to my radar when I was in business school. So it was heavily used by a lot of the students there to build their network, to grow, to get internships. I never enjoyed that part of college. Like, I never really felt this need to kind of, showcase my professional achievements when I was 21 and had barely any professional achievements. So, I did create a LinkedIn and I did, build my network. I'm still in that process actually right now. But it was never, like, personally for me, it was never an app or a platform that I used quite often. Now I definitely see the importance and I use it all the time to job search and to look and to reach out to people, to make connections. It is, in a way, very, very useful. That being said, I would like to talk about the performative nature of LinkedIn. It's definitely a platform where it can often feel like it's a bombardment of people just shoving their achievements in your face. And for what? Like, I don't really, like, I get it. Like, being promoted and working hard and showing that or being hired is important. And it is, a source of our validation. But I also think that the why behind it sometimes is a little bit unknown to me. I think that it's super important to celebrate your achievements and it's great. But I personally, maybe it's because I'm like, maybe it's because I have no professional experience, but I never see it as something that I want to post of in a way, yeah. Also, social media is performative at the end of the day. So LinkedIn could just be a heightened version of performative professionalism. That's really what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that because I do think that achievements are super important to highlight and to grow if you want to grow in the corporate sector in whatever industry you work in. But it can definitely feel it can feel like you're really behind compared to others who have it quote unquote figured out or have the kind of linear trajectory that is associated with, you know, climbing the corporate ladder or getting promoted. So yes, that performative nature can affect your self-esteem. It's definitely affected mine. I know that it's not easy to be on there and see everybody's achievements, but just know that like you shouldn't compare your experience, your journey with anybody else's. Unfortunately, that's what social media sometimes is all about. It really is about comparing and showing rather than kind of seeing perhaps the deeper aspect of why a certain person is in a given career, how did they get there? We just see the slap on post, we see the highlight reel, we see the Instagram story, but we don't see the why. We don't see the bigger picture. Okay, one last thing about LinkedIn that I really want to highlight that is probably my biggest like note that I wish I could just like let employers know that I find that employers have a responsibility to remove job postings that are no longer being used. Like you fill the position and this position is no longer available. I think that should be known to the public. I keep seeing the same jobs being posted and the same companies recruiting for the same position when granted they've already filled the position. I think all you have to do is delete the job posting. It is very discouraging as a candidate to apply to something, not hear back, and to see the same job posting be up and then reaching out to HR and them telling you that the position was filled already. I don't really understand then why the position is still up. That's my probably my biggest issue with employer responsibility and kind of this like fantasy that we live in of endless jobs that are not actually available. Like that's extremely discouraging as well. So, going off of the corporate environment that we see on LinkedIn, I want to talk about office jobs and the standard 9 to 5 that we see as part of our daily culture. On social media, especially, sometimes we can see the slandering of the corporate 9 to 5 or how young people are no longer being quite serious about the 9 to 5 corporate life. But I do think that obviously, like anything, there is nuance to that. I think that on one hand, 9 to 5s offer great stability depending on the industry you work in and just depending on, the size of the company as well. But you do get benefits. You do know that you go into work at 9, you finish at 5, and that's it. You get paid for your time, you get overtime, you get vacations, and you get overall a package when you enter the corporate world. I think that we also see it not only as a stability crutch, but also as this necessity that people need in their daily life. Like, cost of living is expensive. Rent, food, social activities, transport, all of these things are expenses, and you really can't live in the capitalistic world that we live in without having a job. So that 40-hour week is the standard for a reason, because we need to survive in the world that we've constructed for ourselves. That being said, I do think that the crisis that we sometimes see with like younger people, especially new grads, even, millennials and older generations, is how there is a difficulty of finding meaning in the work that we do, and that we don't want to be just sitting down for days on end in a cubicle crunching numbers. Like, that's not a reality that a lot of people want. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting that, and there's nothing wrong with not wanting that. But I do think that some people could find this like tension and this dissonance when, who they are as a person doesn't align with their job at the end of the day. And that coupled with the, lack of jobs out there is like, do you settle for any job and just get your money and then clock out? Or do you try and find a job or jobs that impact your that bring meaning into your life and bring fulfillment, no matter what that looks like? My last point on office jobs and going back to the finding meaning part is how believing in yourself can be quite difficult too in those environments, because, office politics and just being in a in a corporate world can kind of alienate yourself from yourself. And we see a lot of people also quitting their jobs and then just moving abroad and starting over. And I think that's kind of the beauty of taking ownership of your life. And if you're able and have the opportunity to change and to grow and to do different things, I think you should take it and try different things if you can. It might lead you to um, better opportunities or different opportunities that you didn't even think could exist. Going off of that topic of freedom, freelancing is quite relevant, I find, nowadays, because people are more and more looking for more unconventional ways of working, but on their own time, and finding, balance within their life. Some people have a very entrepreneurial spirit, so they're able to kind of split up their time in a way that makes meaning for them. Obviously, that being said, as I worked in freelance, there is a good amount of uncertainty that comes with that, especially if you work on a contractual basis or negotiating your salary. You do a lot of work and you have less of like a safety net than perhaps working an office job, because you are really your own boss, your own advocate for your work. So that can definitely put a lot of pressure on you as a person. And again, it can go back to your self-esteem. It can affect your relationships. It can just affect your work and your career, and it's not for everybody as well. I will say that like freelancing on paper seems quite like intriguing, but it is a lot of work to do as well, and it's not for everybody. And the last thing, when it comes to freelancing, you do have to market yourself. You do have to advocate for your work, for yourself, especially if you want to keep contracts coming in. It was good when I freelanced that I had, one fixed contract with one agency. I wasn't, working for 1 month and then not working. It was definitely set in stone how many hours I was supposed to work and for how long. But you see, I know that my personal dissonance in that regard included, you know, not being able to find other contracts or having that drive to find other contracts because it is difficult. And that was something that I couldn't do when I, finished my contract this summer. Um, that's one of the reasons why I'm not fully going back into freelance, is because I am searching for more stable income um, in general. So, all of that said, when it comes to unemployment, working, finding jobs that you enjoy, part time, full time jobs, it can definitely lead to just a really difficult sense of feeling lost, especially when you're young. You can feel very uncertain and it just kind of strips you down. It wears you down because it requires a lot of effort to put yourself out there and to figure out what you want as well. It's like a lot of inner work and it's a lot of external work. It can definitely wear on you as a person. It definitely can lead to some existential crises. The unknown and the uncertain is not something that humans like. We like safety and predictability. Some people have, different, are able to adapt more to kind of more spontaneity, others not so much. So it is kind of a spectrum. But at the end of the day, a lot of us do, like, humans crave safety, connection, predictability in their lives. My last little note in my notebook here, in terms of like feeling lost and everything, is to smile despite it all, is to pick yourself up and to try. Don't give up. It's difficult, but it's not impossible to find work at the end of the day. And that you're trying, if you're trying and you're showing up, that's really all you can do. And some days are going to be easier than others for sure. But despite it all, we try again. The last little point that I want to touch on is the importance of connection, especially with people who are in the same boat as you. I have friends who are working full time in the corporate world and they are thriving, and I love that for them, and I love it. I love where they are in their life, and that's personal to them. But it can feel quite isolating if you are the only one who's still working in a service job or who's actively looking for a job. So try to find people, maybe at the job that you currently work at or in your communities, that are in the same boat as you. It makes you feel less alone when you talk to somebody face to face who is going through the same thing as you. And finding those support systems, making light of a difficult situation just minimizes kind of the darkness that can sometimes come with it. So definitely talk to people who are in similar boats as you. I've talked to so many girlies who are, in that post-grad journey, also trying to figure out, also trying to find jobs. And it's really reassuring and less lonely when you talk to others. And the last point is definitely connect with yourself. Don't let yourself get super run down all the time in this process. You are enough, you're worthy, and connect with yourself, whether that's through journaling, whether that's through taking a nice long walk, getting coffee. You deserve that. You deserve to live a whole life, regardless of the season that you're in. So don't forget to also connect with yourself.